As I have said, uh, FIT, marketing department, I direct an interactive marketing department, believe that it is important that part of the training you get includes a discussion of business ethics, and hopefully starts to give you a framework to help you make ethical decisions as you go forward in your careers. And just a little bit of background. In the past, it was generally accepted that the only objective that a business has is to maximize shareholder value. Now, hopefully you all know what I mean by that. In other words, the owners, the shareholders are the owners, whether it's a huge public company with thousands and maybe millions of shareholders, or it's a small family business, the shareholders are the people who own the company. And so it has been said, and been said in many business schools, that the primary objective of any business, almost the only objective, is to make the value of the company increase, make the share price increase by delivering profits, by convincing other investors and other people that you have a potential for growth. And share price is kind of a complicated issue, and it's another topic that's worth its own class at some point. But suffice it to say that think about Amazon for a minute, a company we've cited many, many times over the semester. Amazon has not always been a very profitable company because Jeff Bezos reinvested the profits into free shipping, into building distribution, hiring people. He wanted to build his business, increase his share, and own the market. And so he did not pay a dividend, okay? Because another thing a business can do with the money it makes and its profits is to send checks to the owners. And Amazon has not done that. But does Amazon have a low share price? No, it has an extremely high share price. And that makes Jeff Bezos at this point the richest man in the world. Why does it have a high share price? Because people can see how valuable the company is. They see how many customers it has. They see the growth rate of how many customers it continues to add. They believe its growth is still strong. I mean, even though it's huge in the U.S., it has opportunities outside of the U.S. It has opportunities to enter other segments, groceries, pharmaceuticals, etc., and apply the same principles, the same way of doing business to those sectors. Anyway, so share price is as much a perception of what the growth potential is as of the current profit. So it's complicated. Okay, but be that as it may, it used to be that shareholder value, the company is there to make the shareholders, the owners, wealthy. Now, over the years, in the recent years, we've seen some changes there. Okay, and I know you've all read about those things. And they involve a couple of things. First of all, does the company have some kind of duty to its employees? Is it right that McDonald's can pay, $9 or $10 an hour to full-time employees working there in the company who can't support themselves and their families on those wages? And yet the top executives, the CEO at McDonald's makes, and I don't know how much he or she makes, but I'm betting it's tens of millions a year. And a lot of the other executives are making, that sort of neighborhood. And shareholders are getting dividends. And so senior level management is enriching themselves, but people who are doing the work can't make a living and support their families. Is that right? Is that ethical? Or does a company have some kind of duty to its employees, no matter what the job? And you could say, the best entry-level job, by the way, I don't go for that line. the implication that people are going to go on and become, CEOs or something, or work up the ranks from, taking orders out of McDonald's, I don't think is very likely. I think, honestly, any job that's full-time should be paying a living wage. That's my opinion. It's not political, it's just my opinion. But you'll all have your own opinions. And there are also those who say that the better you treat your workers, the better they'll treat your customers. And it's the smartest thing you can do for your profits to treat your workers well. That's another topic, but there's some logic to that. Does a company have a duty to its community? Does a company, as a major economic force in a city, in a state, in a country, have some kind of obligation to improve those things? To, for instance, get involved with environmental issues or other important causes in its community, donate and build a hospital or improve roads or, So the different entities that a company deals with are its owners, its shareholders, its employees, senior management, and then everybody else, and its community. So does a business ethically have some kind of duties beyond just maximizing the wealth of its owners? And out of that whole discussion comes this issue of business ethics. And so we go to what is the issue of what does ethics mean? And here are some definitions. You guys know I like definitions. Discipline of dealing with what is good and bad with a moral duty and obligation. In other words, a set of moral principles. A guiding philosophy, a set of moral issues or aspects. Acting in ways consistent with what society and individuals typically think are good values. So that says that there can be different ethics in different societies based on what's valued. Sharia law and ethics behind Sharia law might be different from what we believe or people in France believe. But here this point is ethical behavior tends to be good for business and involves demonstrating respect for key moral principles that include honesty, fairness, equality, dignity, diversity, and individual rights. So let me just say that when ethical behavior applies to a company, which is what we've been talking about here mostly, it involves defining the purpose of the company and the overall objectives of the company. But when it translates to what you're doing every day in your job, and this is the point here, are wanting to focus on this more at FIT. We want to have graduates who behave ethically in business. And this goes to this area of ethical behavior. Respect for key moral principles that include honesty, fairness, equality, dignity, diversity, and individual rights. These are the values that we want you to instill in yourselves and believe in and go forward and apply them to your careers. Now, when it comes sometimes to making decisions in business, we can have lots of options of things to do, depending on what our objectives are, depending on what our values are. And one of the ways to help you make the right decisions, we're going to go through that, a little bit of that thinking right now. And one concept is that of the greater good. How do we make the decision that creates the greater good? So as a leader in a business, as it says here, we go beyond our own interests to the interests of those we lead and serve and the interests of communities and the world. We must take a long-term view, keeping in mind the broad impact of our day-to-day decisions. So lots of people and groups and societies can be affected by our decisions. And we need to think through how each of those individuals or groups will be affected by our decision. We need to think it through and try to find the root, the solution, the answer, the decision that creates the greater good. Ethical decision-making refers to the process of evaluating and choosing among alternatives in a manner consistent with ethical decisions. We want to perceive unethical options and select the best ethical alternative. Another concept is do no harm, which I think isn't that Google's, or don't do evil or don't do bad or something, isn't that Google's mantra? It sounds a little silly, particularly when applied to them, frankly. So is our goal the greatest good with the least harm? We also don't want to do harm to people. So the concept here is to try to get you to think about how to make the right decision. No one can give you a magic box that's going to pick the right way to go, but can we somehow here at FIT teach you how to think about making ethical decisions? You need a process for finding the most ethical solution. So here's a suggestion. For every important decision, particularly as you move through up into management, I know all of you will. I'm sure many of you will, that's for sure. You want to write down every stakeholder, everyone who has an interest in your decision. How will each be affected positively or negatively by your decision? Use empathy. How will each be affected if you take no action? What course of action creates the greatest good with the least harm to each stakeholder? And that is, this was a discussion I had in my spring class about guns. And we actually had a class debate, I should say discussion, about whether Remington, which is a major arms maker, should stop making the AR-15 semi-automatic rifle. This is a gun that's been used in many mass shootings. It's a business decision, isn't it? Remington, some retailers, like I believe Dick's Sporting Goods, has decided not to sell these guns anymore. These are the semi-automatic rifles that, and particularly the ones with the big bullet cartridge holders. As you can see, I'm not a gun guy. I make it easy to kill a lot of people, and who needs those? Hunters don't need them. So many people around that business have decided to stop offering them to the public. It's a military weapon. So should Remington, a major manufacturer, stop making the AR-15? And Remington Outdoor makes lots of other types of guns. It has 3,000 employees. It had recently gone through bankruptcy. And there's a revenue, $865 million, so not a huge company. And they have a manufacturing plant in New York, and they started a new one in Alabama. They canceled their operation in Connecticut after Connecticut passed more rigid gun control laws after Sandy Hook. They have 400 employees manufacturing the AR-15. So okay. So let's see here. I have lots of different things popping up, and I'm not looking at all these things. Dick's Sporting Goods stopped selling them. Whoop. Who are the stakeholders? Stockholders and owners of Remington. In this case, actually, since it went bankrupt, it was the debt holders, the employees. 400 of them make the AR-15. Customers want to buy the AR-15. But what about the community? What are the different courses of action for Remington about making or not making the AR-15? And how is each one of these entities affected by different courses of action? What's the most ethical choice? What creates the greater good with the least harm? Should Remington stop manufacturing the AR-15 semi-automatic assault rifle? So this is what I put my class through. And I just mentioned this as something for you guys to all think about. I'm not going to ask you to discuss or get involved in it because I want you